A lot of you have been asking why phase one of our brewery project seemed to go so quickly and so smoothly, whilst phase two, where I am just now, seems to have lingered a lot more. And you're not wrong. The reality is that this part of the project, the front of the building, has taken a lot longer to get into motion than phase one. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. First and foremost, it was a prioritization call on our part. We knew we were going to be back from the UK around about Christmas time last year, and we wanted somewhere to live. So rather than having 4 apartments in a commercial space, all 60 or 70% complete, we wanted to focus our efforts on getting 2 of the apartments 100% complete, so we had somewhere to live for the duration that we were back in the UK. There were some other advantages to that as well, and you've probably seen the project. The apartments look great, and because they are fully finished, A, we've been able to rent one of them out and start generating an income from it, and B, we've been able to get the refinance process on that started so that we can get some capital back out to then reinvest into phase 2. The second reason is that we had to submit 2 further planning applications despite us buying this property with planning already approved. Now, the first of those applications was fairly standard. It was to discharge some of the conditions associated with the planning application that had been approved. Things like the materials that we were going to use and some of the details of the shop front because it's in a conservation area. The second planning application was for an amendment to what had been approved. Like I say, we bought it with planning in place, but there were a couple of important changes that we wanted to make. The first of those was in relation to this floor, the first floor of the building, where planning had been approved for a 1-bedroom apartment, but we wanted to tweak that because it's such a big space, and in the back area particularly, there's such high ceilings that we wanted to get a mezzanine in there and create a 2-bedroom apartment by putting an extra bedroom on that mezzanine level. And then up here on the top floor, a dormer had been approved for that roof behind me to create additional floor space up here, but we realized that we needed to replace the entire floor chamber up here anyway, and by lowering that by about 2 feet, we're going to create the same volume that the dormer would have created without all the additional cost of altering the roof structure. Now, probably the most significant delay was caused by our application for a National Lottery Heritage Fund grant on this project. And I'm delighted to say that that process is all behind us now. The grant has been approved and we're going to get about £60,000 as a contribution towards the restoration of this building, which is fantastic. But I guess in our naivety or our limited experience, we didn't quite anticipate or appreciate how long that process was going to take. What we thought would be about 3 months ended up being about 9 months until we signed on the dotted line and knew that that money was there for us. It doesn't mean we were idle in the meantime. Obviously, working through all of that admin and paperwork alongside our architect and with the local council, we've been trying to get as much progress done internally as we can that's not going to be impacted by the restoration piece of the project, so that when they're finished, the heritage contractor that are doing the demolition and the rebuild of the front, once they're done, I've lost my train of thought, it means that our schedule for the internal fit out will be as short as possible. And we're hoping that by doing that, we can get the inside finished and tenanted as quickly as possible. We've done some fairly major works to the cellar to make it a much more usable space by creating a single open plan room and replacing the entire floor chamber as well to give additional head height. We have made the ground floor one big open plan space, which again just makes it much more usable and will appeal to a much broader tenant profile, if you like. And then finally, in the back half of the ground floor, we're actually up to second fix in there. Now, we did this for 2 reasons. One, because it's at the back of the building, it's going to be completely untouched by the heritage contractors. So we were able to make as much progress in there as we wanted without it then potentially getting damaged or going backwards during the next stage of the build. But it also gives those contractors a nice place for them to, I guess, work and be based out of whilst they are working on the front of the building. So they've got light and power and water and everything that they need in there to be a suitable site office for them. So with that all having taken place, what happens next? Well, we got this schedule through from the main contractor a week or so ago, and we're excited to see that we've got about 12 weeks to get the majority of the heritage work done. Starting off, as this says, on the 15th isn't going to be possible. That's tomorrow when we're recording this. But hopefully, a week from now on the 22nd, or worst case, the week after that, we'll make a start with this 12-week program. By the looks of things, the first thing they're going to do is rip out all the floor chambers and replace them, and only once they have done that will they demolish the front of the building. If you're not familiar with what that looks like, here it is. And I love this video that our architect put together showing us what the proposed end result will be. As soon as they're done, or perhaps even a couple of weeks before they're finished, our guys will be able to get back on site and crack on with the internal fit out. They'll spend about a month finishing off the commercial space so that we can get the tenant in there before heading upstairs to kit out the 2 residential apartments. That's going to take us another couple of months, so realistically we're probably 6 months away from completing on this project, and then a couple of months after that to refinance. So there's still a long road ahead of us, but so far, despite the delays with the heritage funding, everything else has gone pretty well as planned on this. So touch wood, it'll continue to go that way. Obviously, if you want to see how the project progresses, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'd obviously appreciate it massively if you give this video a like or a thumbs up as well. And we'll see you next week with whatever we're up to then.